Alright, hello. I should be live now. I now should be live and live streaming to both YouTube and Twitch. I was having some bitrate issues with Twitch Studio, so I switched to using OBS, and since I decided to do that, I figured I might as well set up the dual streaming as well, see if I can get some people watching on YouTube who are interested in watching. So that's what's going on. Should be able to close that now, and it should be fine. Alrighty, well, I'm just gonna get going. I think our drop rate is looking better. It's under 3%, so seems fine to me. I had to set that up. That took a little while. That's why I'm getting started later, and this is going to be a shorter day. So I'm uncertain what. I'm not super happy with my layout either. I'm gonna get that all figured out, but I only just downloaded OBS like, I don't know, 30 minutes ago. So I was able to get my web share and my webcam and the dual streaming set up, and then I have a background over this way so it's not so boring. But I'm gonna get more interesting stuff on there. Again, like I had on the Twitch Studio, but I'm probably gonna stick with OBS because it's looking like it's working well, so. Alright, last time we were working on movement, and this time we need to work on a better collision detection with platforms. So, I actually don't think that this is the thing I want to do next. I don't really know what I meant by, I sort of know what I meant by wide platforms, but I don't think it's very obvious what I meant from there. Basically what I was thinking was you could put in a width, like you say, I want this platform to be 5 wide, and it makes it 5 times wider than a normal platform, but the style of it looks just as fine. I think that's probably not a super high priority thing, but the collision detection on platforms and the character, those two are pretty high priority. So I've done some more thinking about this. Not really sure what the best design is, but I'm thinking that let me go open my project. Assets, characters, textures, personal character. Okay, so I'm going to do some drawing on this. So I'm thinking I want to have like one green box here as a collision and one here, and then a really tall one like this, and then another really tall one over here, and then one that spans in between. So the idea here is that I can detect if I'm colliding with something on the left, on the right, the left foot, the right foot, or the head. And I would be able to register stuff to all of those, hopefully. So with this, the only way you should be able to hit a platform with your feet is if you are landing on it. Imagine if I just had one big collider like this that went all the way around the player. If I jump and I hit a platform from underneath with my head, how can I tell for sure if I should be grounded now? I probably shouldn't be, right? I should fall. If I hit with my head, I should fall. And if it's a platform here and I jump up and I hit the side of it with the side of my body, why should I be grounded then? I shouldn't be. I should bounce off of it and fall. I shouldn't stop and be able to jump again. So if I don't have that surrounding red box, then the only way for me to hit these bottom colliders is if I hit the top of a platform, or if I just barely nick the edge of one, I suppose. If I wanted to be a little bit more pixel perfect about this, I suppose this should all be on the side one. I think it should basically be like that. Like this. So what's the difference between Unity trigger versus Collider? I can see that my my bitrate isn't doing super hot still. That's frustrating. That means doesn't have to do with the program. Probably has to do with my internet. Because now it's up to like 11%. Still lower than what it was, because I was at almost 50% before. Okay. A trigger it's just a way of using the basic collider mechanics for a different purpose. Normally, a collider collides with something, which means the objects apply a force to each other. This implies that the engine internally has to be able to detect when one collider overlaps another. The same overlap detection can also report when an object has entered a particular area, but without activating the collision force. A trigger is just a collider set only to report overlaps rather than apply a force. Unity rigid body with multiple colliders. Having more than one collider in a game object. Can we create more than one colliders in a game object and then access those colliders as an array or something? I have one game object with a box collider that I'm using for physics. However, I want a second collider doubled in size to be the colliders that my mouse clicking code will see. One collider is used for physics, the other one is used for the mouse to raycast properly. Answer: you can add multiple colliders to the same object, but they have to be different types. Example: sphere plus box is fine. Box plus box is impossible. Also, all colliders will be used for the same purpose. You can have one collider for physics and one not. You can add multiple colliders of the same type using children, but again, all of them count as the same collider of the parent, known as compound colliders. In order to have two colliders, different colliders act in different ways. You must use two separate game objects. Came up with a simple solution. I wanted to fire an arrow and have it stick in whatever it hit, so I needed a trigger collider to do that, and I gave it box collider so it didn't fall through the terrain. I also wanted a 5-meter radius collider so I could either pick up automatically or display an icon to give the choice to pick up the arrow on the floor. Came to this post hoping for a solution to multiple colliders and one game object, then realized I'd seen something similar in Bergzerg treasure chest tutorial, so I used that. Okay, so always pick up, item transform, player, in range, triggered, released. So on awake, set the transform, get the player. Range is 5 feet. Triggered is false. Update. If player is null, then get the player. Okay, whatever. If distance between the player and the item is less than in range and not triggered, then we call trigger. Else if not released, released. So if we're within distance, that's probably the second one. So if we're not within distance, we release, and on release, triggered is false, released is true, exited range at blank. If not always pick up, remove display icon here. Okay, if we are within range and it's not triggered, then we trigger. We set triggered to true, set released to false. Entered range at time.time. If always pick up, I should handle picking up the item here, else put display icon here. Okay, so they didn't even use a second collider. So I'm going to open up Unity Hub. I want to see how the actually want to see how the micro game did it. I think I know. I think if they collide with anything, they set to grounded, but I'm curious. So they had a similar jump state. They have grounded, prepare to jump, jumping, in flight, landed. So I want to see where landed is used. We set it equal here. So if you're in flight and you're grounded, then you're landed. And if you're landed, then you're grounded. So how do they do? So if jump and is grounded, let's see, where shift F12. Kinematic object. So it's determined in this kinematic object thing, which is something that they've come up with completely. The minimum normal dot product considered suitable for the entities to sit on. So it's like, where do you slide and where don't you slide? Interesting. Gravity modifier, velocity, and then we have is grounded. Is the entity currently sitting on a surface? and that gets set down here. So fixed update, if velocity.y is less than 0, we're already falling. If we're not, okay. So it looks like every fixed update we set to grounded, and then we do delta position, move along ground, looks like they get the dot product of the ground normal and multiply that by the delta position dot x, perform movement without the y movement, and then we do the movement with the y. Yikes. Body.cast. Hi, I just realized I didn't have the stream chat open. Sorry for not saying hi, but I was not able to see it before. Using a different streaming deal today. So, thanks for joining. I'm WG Melvin's dad. So they check if they hit anything, and then they get the normal of that collision. And if that was flat enough to land on, then they count themselves as grounded. Seems a little incorrect to me. see other benefits to doing a collision system like this. This isn't what they were doing, but if we set it up like this, then you can play an animation when you bonk your head, and you can play an animation when you're colliding with something on the left, like a pushing animation, and the same thing on the right. And when you are colliding with just the left foot and not the right foot, you can have this sort of unbalanced animation where you kind of look like you might fall. Like they have that stuff in Super NES games, right? I think that we can do that, and I don't know how you would do that without having different colliders. It seems like the best way to do it to me. The problem is, how do we get multiple colliders? And it seems like the best way to do it, says you can attach multiple empty game objects with colliders to your main game object and attach them a simple script which triggers actions which can be subscribed by parent game object. Each child game object with collider will have the same script. This is a 2D collision proxy. And then the parent game object just needs to subscribe to required events. So on start, we get the component. We call that first collider. And then we have first collider dot on collision enter 2D action. We subscribe to that. Yeah, I think I like that. So I am going to do that. So I'm going to go open up the project. So we have our character here. Now we're going to start to add some empty objects. This will be left foot, right foot, left side, right side, and then head. And this is going to have a box collider 2D. Oh, shoot, maybe we should have. See if I can copy these and just go edit the prefab instead. So if I do this and then do open prefab. Yeah, cool. So I'll work from here. I want to edit the collider on this. So it's just his Just his left foot. Okay, let's give the right foot a box collider. Edit this one as well. Okay, so now you can see we got our two colliders. Now we'll go to the left side, add another box collider. Be nice if we could see all of them. There. I knew I saw that setting yesterday. Oops. Okay, and now I go make a box collider for our head. Cool. Now, can the rigid, like, I don't know if the rigid body had an API for adding in a collider. So, we have get closest set the mass. Okay. Let's see about making this script we call. So this is a collider 2D. We'll just call it a collider proxy. And they were suggesting to use a action generic 2D collision. I don't actually know what Unity actions are that well. Action is a generic delegate type defined in the system namespace. Action object return no values, so we can say that action type is similar to a void method. For example, system.action string print action equals new system.action string display, which is the name of this function. Let me say print action, give it a string, and then it does the thing. System.action string comma bool, those are the parameters. It's called callback. We have our URL, we have the call API. There's a start coroutine fetch data API action. Alright. Give myself another 20 minutes to work on this. So it's not even a Unity thing. The action is just a C# thing. So this collider proxy, that would be in system scripts. I guess gameplay. Public action collider 2D. Trying to remember what the collider things are. So there's on collision enter, on collision stay. on collision stay 2D. Public action on collision. Oh, let's call it. Exit stay. Why do they have a question mark there? That's weird. Might find out here. So on collision enter 2D registry. Invoke Cool. So now we can register with this collider proxy, and then whenever stuff collides with this, we will be notified. So our left foot has one of these. Now we're going to put this onto our right foot, onto the left side, onto the right side, and onto the head. Okay. Now back on the character, we're going to have a collider just call this character collider. And we're going to move this character collider script and then scripts. And then gameplay. Okay, so now we're gonna have our public, well, collision collider proxy left foot right foot side right side and then head. private void awake. Say left foot is equal to game object dot find see Unity get list of child objects. Yeah, maybe we should make these private in case they don't get found. Because this website just suggests to find, like, find them from all of the objects. I think that's a bad idea. Might end up having to search through a lot of things. cd transform.find. Oh, I could do find child. That's deprecated. Oh, this one does find by child. Okay. Left foot. Pretty sure that's what I called it. Yep, I did camel case for all of them. Get component Collider proxy. Okay. Now, want to be able to do public void register action with left foot. Then it takes a system action collision 2D left foot dot on collision. We'll do this differently. So do public jump processor this takes in reference to the character collider. So then private void handle foot collision 2D. Register on collision enter with left foot. We'll give it the handle foot collision. Processor equals new jump processor, then give it the get component character collider. You need just a bit more time. And then for now, we'll just do debug.log. Hit something with feet. Okay, now we need to put got a hair in my throat. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I don't expect to be falling right away. That's normal. It's expected. When I jump, hey, I land there. It did say I hit something with feet, although now we're getting some null reference exceptions. Those are probably in the proxies. It's my guess. Because we have empty actions that get called. Collider proxy on collision enter 2D, line 14. Exit, stay, exit, stay. These guys are in the, so we hit the right side. Okay, So on the collider proxy, we do if on collision enter 2D registry empty. Oh, that might be what this question mark thing is here. Huh. C# action question mark. Huh. Okay, I don't like this. I think I'm gonna do the other old way. Well. Out with the old and with the new. I'm learning C#. Oh well. That should fix those problems. And now the other question is when we do that, can we then jump again? Probably not yet, because all I do is debug log. I don't actually set myself to grounded. And if we look at the character, I bet the rigid body's like going out of control. The velocity's like wants to keep going down. So in the jump processor, instead of just hitting something with feet, we're going to do something else. We're going to get rid of the ground because I want to go edit the prefab. So open the ground, open prefab. I'm going to add a new tag. This is going to be called ground. That's right. And then we're going to tag that as ground. I think a tag is the right way to do that. Maybe Unity tag versus layer. See what people's opinions are on this. Both are used to classify objects of a scene, but Unity does use layers in a functional way where tags are meant to be used by scripts only. Silly. I got the same ad on a different website. This one here. Code saying versus Bladecast. Functional how? For instance, layers can be used to specify a set category of objects to be rendered. Layers can also be used to ignore collisions of raycasts and more. There's some overlap of uses between them. You can certainly get away with using layers only, but if you want to further categorize your game objects, you can assign tags to them. Layers are used, among other things, to selectively render objects. For each object, you assign a layer, then on your camera, create a culling mask by choosing layers that will be rendered by this camera. The end result is that only objects assigned to those layers will be rendered by that camera. But why is this useful? You could be creating a mini-map. You could be used to render a 3D UI on top of the game world render. So I'm thinking layers would be better. That might be better to add a layer. Call this ground layer. Got a limited number though. We're so close. I'm gonna remove that one so I don't use it. If I'm not going to untagged, we'll do ground as a layer. And now we'll go, that should be the prefab now. Go ahead and drag one of these back into the world. And now in the jump processor script and handle foot collision, we'll get collision dot collider. Dot other collider dot layer. Get layer is touching layers. Unity, how to get object layer. So if the other collider, basically in the collision with the foot, if the other collider, basically the thing the foot is hitting, is in the layer with the name ground, then we set our jump state to grounded. console errors. Character is still wildly decelerating. Accelerating in a negative direction. So what's up with that? Debug.log hit the ground, else hit something else. Probably going to be hitting something else, probably not doing the layer correctly. Hit something else. Whoa, what is this? Okay, not worried about it. Assuming using the onCollision enter, we could do collision.collider.gameObject.layer. I'm making a little snowboarding game and I'm making a rail. I added a physics material to the character that makes him only able to go in one direction. I want to change the physics material when he comes into contact with the rail. Put the rail on a different layer. I just don't know how to tell if the character collided with the rail or not. So let's do, in the code, let's print out the layers. So debug.log collision.collider.gameObject.layer. And this one will put some text at the beginning that says collider layer. And this one will be saying other collider layer, and we'll do collision dot other collider. I have a feeling what the thing's gonna say. I think that the other collider is the foot, and the collider is actually going to be the ground, so we'll see. So it says collider layers 3, other collider is 0. Yeah, and 0 is untagged, and all of the foots are untagged, so that's the answer. I'm just checking the wrong thing. Okay, and you can see down here the velocity, the character is not wildly decelerating anymore. I can actually move on this platform, and I can jump again. Holy crap, I did it. Now, I can add out a few more grounds. I need to figure out how to get the snapping to work. That would be really handy. Also, I would like to set the initial state of the player to jump 1. So when we go to process jump, if we're in jump 1, then we process jump 1 state. Jump start time. So there's another problem there. If you go off the platform, you don't fall. Oh, but if you are falling and you don't hit it, then you keep falling. Okay, I think I know how to get around this. So also the problem is when we start, it's like you're automatically jumping, which I'm not pressing the spacebar to do. That's because I set the start state to jump 1. It should be falling. Oops. Okay, so and then if we're falling, case jump state dot falling, do process falling. I don't know if I'll need that yet, so I'm not going to add that in. Private void process falling state. rigid body dot velocity dot y. We'll do actually we'll do something simpler. Do rigid body dot velocity dot y minus time dot delta time multiplied by gravity. So then when we process jump 1, processing jump 1 is as simple as setting the gravity to initial, or the velocity to initial velocity, and then setting the jump state to falling. Take out this handle ground plane, that was a temporary function. I think we no longer need the jump start time. It's never actually read. And then when we're grounded, we can just keep the y velocity at gravity, maybe? I'm not so sure about that. So we start off in the falling state. Okay. And when we get to our first process jump, we go to case of falling, call process falling state. This sets our velocity equal to the current velocity minus gravity. Minus the effect of gravity for that frame, basically. And that's the end of that frame. And then on the next frame, we basically keep falling until handle foot collision gets called, and then we set ourselves to grounded. And then when we're grounded, every frame we call process grounded state. That checks if we're jumping. If we're not, then we just set our velocity equal to gravity, or y velocity equal to gravity, because we want it to pull us down if we go off the platform. I'm not sure if that's the way I want to do that yet, because, well, we'll see. What would be a consequence of that? if I were to key off of the jump state for animations, the animation would still, the jump state would stay grounded, so I wouldn't like accidentally go to a falling animation. When we press jump, it sets our jump state to jump 1, and then the next frame yeah, I think it's probably fine. Let's try it out. Oh, it flew away. Did I have a negative gravity in there somewhere? Oh, I was subtracting gravity here, but gravity's already negative. Okay, so now the character's velocity should always be negative or negative 9.81, which is gravity. Okay, yeah, so that causes a problem, because if we're grounded and it's negative, then we keep colliding with stuff. So I can't do that. We'll just have to register next time with the decolliding, which I think is fine, because over here we have a I had this falling thing. Actually, I didn't have that done, so I'm gonna, it's in progress. Didn't have that done yet. So I'm still floating when I go off the platform. I've also gotten hooked onto my left foot thing is like a little bit too low or something. So it collides, I think, is what's going on. Okay. So I'd say that was a success. We now have a framework for character collision, and it has all of these different ways to collide with it, and we can set up registries for all the different kinds we want. If we want to register for on collision exit, we can do that. If we want to register to the head collision, we can do that. And then we've got on the, so back here, that is movement collision detection, that's done. Okay, now we've got platform collision detection. We don't have anything super robust. We just have the ground, and it's got a box collider on it. So there's a question here of like if we make a new 2D object like this, and we give it a rigid body 2D, and give it a circle collider 2D. This should just collide with this, but it might not because the ground doesn't have a rigid body on it. That might be a problem. Call it a static. I like to have the rigid body above the box collider. Okay. So now all of these guys should have rigid bodies too, and they should all be static. I'm not really sure why that worked before. Whatever. I'm not sure why the player collided if it didn't have the thing. So you see this, it was sort of lagging there at the beginning a bit, but this ball, we can push it, like, there's just gravity, because Unity does a lot of that stuff if you set up a rigid body on it. Cool. So that sounds like platform collision detection also done. We don't actually have the falling quite done, but whatever. So today's Thursday. It means we have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday left, and I've got to get through these things here. I've got to get through falling, double jump, crouching, which I've thought about and I actually may not want anyways, because I think I'll want the crouching as part of the jump, but I don't think I'll want it to be like a mechanic that actually makes you that much shorter, because I want to have a tool later that lets you grow and shrink yourself, like a potion or something like that. And if I added crouching in, that would sort of defeat that. So why did the ball fall but not the guy? That's a great question. So it's because I set up on the character. Let me go to the prefab here for the character. So the character's got a rigid body on it, but its rigid body type is what? It's because I disabled gravity on this, and I'm doing my own gravity. That's why. Thanks. I actually didn't remember having the rigid body type be dynamic. I was going to have it be kinematic, but then the kinematic was frustrating because you couldn't even set the velocity. You just had to change the position every time. And the kinematics didn't really mesh well with the with collisions with other things. I don't know. I'll have to look into that and think about that later. But thank you for the congratulations or commendations or whatever. Thank you for the good job. So the character has this stuff. And character also has child objects, and those guys have things in them. And then the ground prefab now has so I was colliding with it before. I don't know why. I don't know what the point of a static rigid body is. The reason for the static body type is simply rooted in the used physics engine, box SD. Unity's 2D physics is just box. Probably a typo. It probably meant box 2D. That's where you get the basic idea for the body type from. Unity's 3D physics does not have a body type since Unity uses physics for 3D physics. As you can see, the main difference is that static rigid bodies are not simulated while kinematic ones are. Static collider versus non-static one has to do with if it has rigid body attached or not. By having a rigid body attached, it's considered simulated rather than static, in which it can move, which is not static. Static meaning unmoving. Now, I think you might be conflating the static tick box in the upper right of the game inspector with that of a static collider. I think this person is confused or might be talking about 3D stuff. If I add a rigid body 2D to a game object that already has a box collider 2D and set the body type of the rigid body 2D to static, what is the difference between this and just having a game object with a box collider 2D and absolutely no rigid body 2D? So you should never move a static game object. I was right. This person totally misunderstood. This person says a 2D kinematic rigid body can actually be moved with velocity. I don't think that was true because I was trying to do that before and it didn't really work. So the ground I actually don't think I want to be a static rigid body. I actually don't even think I want a rigid body on it. Just to sanity check myself here before I move on from tonight. If I do this, it should be fine. And if I then go and make a circle, if I get rid of the character, I have this circle here. And I give this guy a rigid body 2D, make it dynamic, and then I give it a circle collider 2D. The rigid body is what makes it applies gravity automatically, if specifically if you have dynamic on there. And we play that, then the ball falls and you see it collides and such. And because my character has colliders all over it, when the ball interacts with those colliders, it gets pushed. So that's what's up. Now another question is, does my character need to be a dynamic thing, or can it be kinematic? Check use full kinematic contact, maybe. kinematics normally don't collide with things. Kinematics don't normally collide with anything. Well, I see no reason for that not to just be the way I have it then. I'd rather not do confusing things I don't fully understand. So they are kinematic and they will use full kinematic contacts. So I think I'll work on double jump next, and then moving platforms and falling. These guys, I think I can do those tomorrow. So I'm not yet caught up with my burn down. But tonight went a lot better than yesterday did, so feeling positive. Okay. Accomplishments. So I got OBS set up, streaming to YouTube and Twitch. Hello, if you were watching on YouTube, I apologize for not responding, because I have no way of knowing if anyone is watching on YouTube. I can go and look after the fact, or I could open up my stream here probably. Channel dashboard. I can see probably that I'm looks like spam was commenting. I don't know what the playback thing is. Chat rate, I had a chat here and here. Probably deleted a couple because they were spam. That's weird. So it's 9:10, 9:45, 9. I mean, these look like really evenly spaced out. It's probably a bot scanning through there and stuff. Stream health looked good. Oh, there's another one. Hello. Hello, bot. Anyways, so got that set up. And then I discussed and researched multiple colliders, implemented Proxy Collider player now collides appropriately with ground collision detection system, I'll say robust system for detecting player collisions. Learned more about static versus kinematic versus dynamic rigid bodies. Next time, collision exit detection and double jump. Well, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, go over to YouTube after it's uploaded. Make sure to give it a like. I think I'm probably not going to stream in the evening tomorrow. I think I'm actually going to wake up early and stream in the morning. But it'll be uploaded on YouTube after the fact, so you can always watch the stream there. As always, have a nice night, and thank you.